All right, so you're ready to take your English learning online. Well, buckle up because today we're diving deep into an article all about the best websites to do just that.
7 of them, to be exact, from Study Group's digital learning section.
7. Wow, that's a lot to unpack. But that's why we're here, right? To help you figure out which one or ones might be your perfect match.
Absolutely. So much to consider, learning style goals, even things like how much time you have.
Exactly. So let's start with you, the learner. Are you someone who loves structure, like lesson plans and clear goals?
Or are you more go with the flow kind of learner, picking and choosing what interests you?
That's actually a really great question
Yeah.
because honestly, it can make a huge difference in how effective a website is for you, right? If it doesn't match how you learn best.
Totally agree.
Yeah.
Luckily, there are awesome options out there for both kinds of learners.
Okay, well, let's not get too far ahead. We have 7 websites to get through, and we'll break down each one, what makes it special, who it might be best for, the whole deal.
Sounds like a plan. Maybe by the end, you'll discover the magic formula is actually using a few of them together. But we'll get to that later. Let's kick things off with one you might already know, Duolingo.
Duolingo. Oh, yeah, the one with the little owl that's always reminding you to practice. I think what makes Duolingo so popular, especially for busy people, is that they've really nailed those bite-sized lessons.
You're so right. And it really ties into how we learn languages best. Our brains are wired to learn better in short bursts, especially new stuff. So those little Duolingo lessons, they're perfect for like when you're on the bus or waiting in line.
That makes so much sense. It's not just convenience, it's like working with your brain, not against it. But I've heard some people say they miss having a real teacher on Duolingo, since it's all computer feedback.
Yeah, you're right about that. While the computer is great for grammar and vocab, it can't really help you with things like pronunciation or having a real conversation.
So maybe it's a great start, but not the end-all be-all. If you want to really master speaking English.
Exactly. And that brings us to our next website, which is kind of the opposite end of the spectrum, Study Group Digital Learning. Now, this one's for those aiming high, maybe thinking about a UK university degree.
When I first heard about Study Group, I thought it was just another online English course, but it's way more than that, right?
Way more. Yeah. What makes Study Group stand out is that it's laser focused on getting you ready for academic life in the UK. And a big part of that is their focus on something called academic English.
Wait, academic English, what is that exactly? Sounds kind of scary.
Well, it can be demanding, but
Yeah.
it's super important for anyone who wants to succeed at a university, especially in the UK. It's about going beyond everyday conversation and learning how to read complex academic texts, write research papers, participate in seminars, that kind of stuff.
So it's not just, can I get a coffee, please? It's like understanding lectures and writing essays.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And Study Group, they have these special modules on academic English, plus you get feedback from real teachers to help you develop those skills.
That's going to be a huge help, especially for someone who might be feeling a little nervous about studying abroad.
For sure. Now let's switch gears a bit and talk about a platform that's all about learning through inspiration and cool ideas.
TED Talks.
TED Talks. Now you're talking, who doesn't love a good TED Talk, right?
Yeah.
But how does watching them help you learn English?
It's pretty cool, actually. TED Talks are like these short, engaging presentations on all sorts of things, from science and tech to art and culture, you name it. And the speakers are experts in their fields, but they explain things in a way that's easy to understand and really interesting.
Yeah, even if you don't know much about like astrophysics, you could still enjoy a TED Talk about black holes and maybe even learn something new.
Right? But how does that tie into English learning?
Well, first you're hearing all sorts of new vocabulary and different speaking styles. The speakers are usually really articulate and use sophisticated language, which is great for expanding your vocab. And here's the best part. All TED Talks have subtitles, so you can read along as you listen, which helps you remember what you're hearing.
It's like absorbing all this language while geeking out on cool stuff. I can definitely see how that'd be more fun than just memorizing word lists.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the more you enjoy learning, the more likely you are to stick with it. But it's important to remember that TED Talks are best used as an extra tool.
Right, you're not going to learn all the grammar rules or perfect your accent just from TED Talks. You'd need a more structured approach for that.
Absolutely. Which brings us to a platform that offers a really cool blend of structure and personalized feedback. Busuu.
Busuu. Okay, I'll admit this one's new to me. What makes it stand out from the crowd?
Well, the really cool thing about Busuu is that it has a big social learning element. It's not just you in the app. It's you and a whole community of language learners and native speakers from all over the world.
So it's like having a language exchange partner right in your pocket.
Exactly. You can practice your conversation skills with native speakers, get feedback on your writing, and even make some new friends along the way.
That's amazing, especially for someone who might be a little shy about speaking English in real life.
It's a great way to break out of that solo learning bubble and really put your skills to the test in a safe and supportive environment.
All right, so far we've got Duolingo for those who are always on the go, study group for the future academics, TED Talks for the curious minds, and Busuu for the social butterflies. But wait, there's more.
3 more websites to explore, each with something unique to offer. So before we dive into those, take a minute to think about what we've talked about so far.
Imagine you're walking into a bookstore, but instead of books, it's filled with different ways to learn English. What's catching your eye? What feels like a good fit for your learning style and goals?
That's a great way to think about it. Keep that bookstore analogy in mind as we move on to the next 3 websites. See if any of these new options spark your interest, or maybe even complement the ones you've already liked.
Welcome back to part 2 of our deep dive into the best websites for learning English online. I feel like we've already discovered so many cool options.
We have, haven't we?
Yeah.
Each one with its own strengths and quirks.
Like, remember that bookstore analogy? We're not limited to just one book or one website.
Exactly. What if the real key to online learning isn't about finding the perfect website, but about picking and choosing elements from several?
That's such a cool idea. It's like building your own personalized language learning program.
Precisely. You can take the best bits from each one and create a system that works perfectly for you.
I love that. Let's say someone really loves that structured approach of study group digital learning, but they also want more real-world practice like Busuu offers.
They could totally use study group as their foundation, for that solid base in academic English. And then they could hop over to Busuu to chat with native speakers and get some feedback on their conversation skills.
Oh, that's so smart. It's like recognizing your strengths and weaknesses as a learner and then picking resources that fill in the gaps.
Exactly. And there's so many other ways to combine these websites too.
Like, what if someone learns best through immersive experiences like watching movies or listening to music?
We talked about TED Talks, which are great for that. But what if you also used a website like Lyrics Training?
Lyrics training. Oh, yeah, where you fill in the missing words of songs.
It's super fun, and you can pick songs you love. It's a great way to learn new vocabulary and get better at understanding spoken English, all while jamming out.
Oh my gosh, I love that. It's like sneaking in some learning while you're just enjoying music. And I bet you'd remember the words better too, since they're connected to a song you already know.
Absolutely. And to make it even more effective, you could make flashcards on Quizlet with the vocabulary from the songs and TED Talks. That way you're reviewing what you've learned and making sure it really sticks.
This is blowing my mind. We're not just talking about websites, we're talking about building a whole language learning universe.
And the best part is the more you explore and experiment, the more you'll learn about what works best for you.
It's like we're giving people the tools to become their own language learning DJs, creating the perfect playlist for their journey.
Love that analogy. Now, with that blending concept in mind, let's introduce our next website, a true classic. The British Council's Learn English website.
The British Council, yes, they're like royalty in the world of English learning. Right.
They're definitely one of the most respected institutions out there. They've been promoting language learning and cultural exchange for ages. And their Learn English website is packed with resources for learners of all levels.
What I think is really cool about their approach is how much variety they offer.
Totally. They have resources for everything from basic grammar to more specialized stuff like business English, or prep for exams like IELTS.
So whether you're just starting out or you're already pretty fluent, there's something there for you.
And they cater to different learning styles too. Interactive exercises, videos, podcasts, grammar explanations, even games.
Speaking of institutions that have been around forever, our next website is another one with a long and impressive history, BBC Learning English.
The BBC. They've been pioneers in language learning since the days of radio. And their online platform is just as good as you'd expect.
I have to admit, I have a bit of a soft spot for the BBC. There's just something so charming about their accent and their teaching style.
I totally get that.
Yeah.
And what's great is they manage to be both authoritative and super approachable. They offer a wide range of courses from beginner to advanced, covering everything from grammar to pronunciation.
And they keep their content fresh and relevant too. They're always adding new stuff, often incorporating current events and pop culture into their lessons.
Yeah, like their news review section where they break down complex news stories into simpler language. It's an awesome way to learn new vocabulary and stay informed about what's going on in the world.
It's like getting a double dose of learning English and current events. That's a win-win for sure.
And for our last website, we're going a bit more academic with Coursera.
Coursera, that's where you can take online courses from universities all over the world, right?
Yep. Coursera partners with universities and organizations to offer tons of online courses on all sorts of topics, and a lot of them are taught in English.
So it's not specifically an English learning platform, but it's perfect for someone who wants to learn about something they're passionate about while also improving their English.
Exactly. And what's really neat is you can often find courses that focus on specific regional dialects of English, like American English, Australian English, or even British English.
So if you're dreaming of mastering a certain accent, Coursera might be the place to start.
It's definitely worth checking out. And remember, even if a course isn't specifically about English, just being immersed in lectures and readings can do wonders for your fluency.
So to recap, we've got the British Council for its variety and comprehensive approach, BBC Learning English for its charm accessibility, and focus on current events, and Coursera for its academic depth and options for learning regional dialects.
Right. Now picture yourself back in that bookstore. You've browsed all the shelves, you've peeked inside a few books, and you've even started thinking about how you could combine different elements.
What's catching your eye? What feels like the right fit for your learning style and goals?
And how could you blend these resources to create an English learning experience that's truly personalized and effective?
And we're back for the final part of our deep dive into the best websites for learning English online.
Wow. We've covered a lot, haven't we? From those quick lessons on Duolingo to those in-depth courses on Coursera.
It's been amazing. So many different approaches too, like structured courses and immersive experiences and even social learning platforms.
And remember how we talked about creating your own personalized learning blend?
Right. It's not about finding the one perfect website. It's about taking what works best for you and creating a system that fits your learning style and goals.
Exactly. Like that bookstore analogy we talked about.
Yeah, you're browsing through all those options, seeing how you could mix and match different approaches.
And as you do that, I want you to keep one important thing in mind. Consistency.
Ah, yes. Consistency. The secret ingredient to language learning. It's not enough to just find the right resources, you have to actually use them.
It's just like working out. You wouldn't expect to see results from one workout, would you?
Nope. It's those repeated efforts, that daily practice that makes a difference over time.
And that's where those bite-sized learning platforms like Duolingo or Busuu can be so helpful.
Right. They make it easy to fit in a few minutes of practice, even on those super busy days.
It's about making language learning a habit, something you do regularly without feeling overwhelmed.
And I think setting realistic goals is a big part of that too.
Totally. Instead of saying, I'm going to be fluent in a month, break it down into smaller steps.
Like maybe learning 5 new words a day or watching one TED Talk a week.
Exactly. Little by little, those small steps add up over time.
And then when you start to see progress, you'll feel even more motivated to keep going.
It creates this amazing positive feedback loop.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, we want to leave you feeling inspired and excited.
You have so many incredible resources available to you.
It's all about finding what resonates with you, creating your own unique blend, and then being consistent.
And most importantly, have fun along the way. Learning a language should be enjoyable.
Absolutely. All right, everyone, happy learning.